So I guess trust is really an important issue.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. You have to make sure that you do find somebody that you trust, a very trusted friend or a family member, because one thing that you have to consider is that you are going in on a contract with this person. And you need to be able to know that money is involved, and people make decisions very differently when it comes to money.
Hey everyone, it's Lawrence Mack here from Remax Realtron, here again with Eric Main from Eric Main Mortgages. Thanks for joining me again today.
Always happy to be here.
Excellent. Today we're going to talk about joint ownership. The main reason is because when I do talk with a lot of different clients, sometimes they may not be able to qualify for the mortgage themselves, and then they're just trying to think of different options. We did go through different options in a different video, but specifically today we want to talk about joint ownership. And for instance, if you wanted to own the house with maybe a parent or another sibling, what are the details to do that? So can you tell us about what you need to qualify and what the process is?
Yeah, so essentially it would be a standard application. We would qualify both of the, however many people are on the application by their own merits, and essentially would be very similar to when you're buying a house with a spouse, and very simple.
Just like that, I guess we're done. So specifically, let's just say you needed a $300,000 mortgage, and it's like you and your brother wanted to go buy the place. Does only one person need to qualify, or do they just assume that both of them together are like an entity, or like what happens?
Yeah, so essentially exactly how you said it. They combine them essentially as an entity. They do go through the whole qualifying process, pull a credit bureau, add their liabilities to it. And one thing that needs to be considered is that when they are qualifying, if they have any other liabilities that are joint with either they were going in on another project with somebody else, or with like a spouse, or like have their own mortgage or a car loan, when they are on this application, the full burden of that payment falls on them for this application. So when you are considering somebody to go in on a purchase with, you have to consider that you want to bring a strong borrower to the table, somebody that's actually going to contribute somebody, and somebody's going to drag the application down.
Right, because you are sort of working as a team to get this particular mortgage, and so if you're bringing in a teammate that isn't really helping, just adding to your debt service level or something like that, it just doesn't make any sense. So
exactly.
Just make sure about that. So I guess trust is really an important issue.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. You have to make sure that you do find somebody that you trust, a very trusted friend or a family member, because one thing that you have to consider is that you are going in on a contract with this person, and you need to be able to know that money is involved, and people make decisions very differently when it comes to money.
Right, for sure. And you mentioned before that maybe exit strategy might be complex in terms of the particular partnership.
Yeah, that's one thing to consider as well. If you are going in on a purchase with two or even more people, is the exit strategy. It could at any point, one of the people involved in the mortgage or the purchase could feel that they don't want to be part of this deal anymore. A lot of times what happens is somebody goes in early on in the stage of their life, and then later on now they're married, and now they're looking to buy their matrimonial home, but they now have the burden of this particular mortgage now to consider when they are applying for a new house. And so you have to consider the exit strategy, being able to buy that person out when that person is ready to go. So if there's three people, now the two people that are left need to be able to qualify on their own to be able to buy that new person out.
And so if that happens, like for instance, you have three people and one of them leaves, you're going to have to requalify for the existing two people.
That's right,
correct?
Exactly, yeah. So it'll be a brand new mortgage.
Brand new mortgage is not just taking the person off title, it's just brand new mortgage.
No.
And then any type of buyout or something would happen offsite, obviously.
Yeah, so that would be all done through the lawyers, and they would be able to split that all up for you. But that's something that you do have to consider from the get-go. That sometimes exit strategies could be a little bit touchy, depending on whether they were brought on from a good place or a not so good place.
Yeah, so definitely think about the exit strategy first before you go into it. It's obviously very happy at the beginning when everyone's all everything's all rosy and stuff, but after a few years, things happen, right?
Yeah.
Whether maybe you just move jobs or schooling somewhere else or something, a lot of things happen.
Exactly.
Now, what is the maximum number of people you can bring to? Like, can you bring more than 2 people together for this type of thing?
Yeah, well, I've done up to 4 people, and in some cases you can do more. The more people you do bring onto an application, the more complex it is, though. And also keep in mind what I was mentioning before is when you are bringing on more people, you have to make sure that you're bringing on people that would help qualify the application versus somebody that's going to deter the application. Because the more people that are involved, each individual person has to be evaluated by their own merits, and sometimes one person may not be able to
Help.
Exactly.
Great. And another point that some people might have asked about, or maybe wondering about, would just be incorporation. Like, does it make more sense if, hypothetically, you've got 3 siblings that want to buy a cottage? Does it make more sense to incorporate that, or maybe all 3 of them do it personally? What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, it's a personal choice to incorporate. It does definitely add a little extra layer of complexity to the mortgage application, but it is entirely possible. A lot of people do it when they go in on an investment property, when they're buying their second properties. It's something that's discussed in the background with the lawyers, and most of the time it doesn't involve the actual mortgage process.
Right, and in terms of the actual qualification process, though, it's basically the same thing?
It would be the same because each individual person is still qualified on their own merits.
As a personal guarantee.
And so in the end, we would put the actual mortgage in the actual corporation's name, but each person would be qualified.
Qualifying together as a group, and then as long as it's qualified, then the corporation gets the money.
Exactly.
And just moves on just like that. Well, anything else you can think about joint ownership? I mean, it's a good thing, bad thing?
Well, it's definitely allows you to be able to get into the properties sooner rather than later. If you do have, it goes back to trust. If you do have a friend or family member that you trust, then and you do have that house that you both dream about living in, and gets you into a more expensive property a little bit sooner, and it lets you take advantage of the capital growth of that property as well.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. Try to do joint ownership if you can't do it by yourself. So I'm Lawrence Macian from Remax Realtron, and if you have any questions about mortgages or financing, talk to Eric Main anytime.
Happy to help.
Thank you. Bye-bye.